I've already made the soppy video on why I think the Google Pixel was important to me personally, although I'm not sure if I've uploaded that before or after this video. That's still a mystery to me. Also, thanks to Noah Herman for sourcing this phone for me. Today, however, I want to do a comprehensive 2020 review of the original Google Pixel to fully evaluate what kind of user experience you should expect from buying one of these things used in 2020. Is it still worth buying? Hi guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and today I'm going to give you an answer. To preface this review, we have to look at the value for money, the pricing, the availability, because it's one of those main reasons that you'd go out and buy one of these instead of maybe buying a Pixel 4 XL and splurging more money on a more premium device. This unit costs £110 here in the UK and it's not in great condition. It's got a few scratches on it, no cracks at all, and it still works perfectly well, but the condition just isn't great. And this is the 32GB unit found on eBay UK. You can find better condition variants for around £150, and if you opt for the XL that's going to cost you even more, but I feel that £130 to £140 is a good price to pay for one of these. And I'd advise getting something a little bit more scratched and putting a case or skin on it rather than getting a pristine unit, because you're likely going to put a case or skin on it anyway. That pricing sets some pretty low expectations, since the outgoing Pixel 4 is £669 here in the UK, so you'd naturally expect 1/6 the phone for 1/6 the money. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that you get a lot more for your money at £110 than you do at £669. The Pixel 1 is actually a really good deal in the used market. To justify that rather strong set of opinions, we need to look at the first and most important part of this phone, the software. This 2016 handset released with Android 7.1 Nougat, which was the latest and greatest version at the time. And because Google's new Pixel experience was all about user experience, it was a hit. Fast forward 3.5 years and the Google Pixel is now running Android 10, which is unbelievable given that the competition barely made it to 8.0 Oreo. So you get pretty much all of the latest features, excluding cool screening, a fresh look on the device, clean animations. Android 10 has transformed and revitalized the Pixel, and it got this update at the same time as all the other Pixels, including the Pixel 4. Now, as great as that is, and I really do praise Google for this, it's also worth noting that this is the last official platform update for the Pixel. And if you want to go further into Android 11, Android 12, you're going to have to use custom ROMs or something like that. You will still get security updates, but you just won't get platform updates. The software experience doesn't feel old in 2020, and I think that has a lot to do with how simple and unbloated this package is. It makes the user experience what it is, which is uniquely blissful. Performance, on the other hand, is not quite as perfect. Don't get me wrong, the Snapdragon 821 and 4GB of RAM certainly isn't awful by any means. It's just not going to last you years and years into the future without hang-ups and stutters. My unit did get stuck a couple of times, but nothing that meant that I had to restart it or anything like that. It usually only lasted a couple of seconds and it wasn't all that frequent. I'm happy to say that gaming is still a possibility with this phone, even some more demanding 3D titles like Real Racing 3. It's just not got the chops of the ROG 2 or the OnePlus 8, but that's to be expected. Otherwise, day-to-day social media browsing proved no problem for the Pixel. Colour me impressed given the device's age. I can't imagine anyone who's just casually using their phone having any performance problems with the Pixel, so that's pretty cool for a 3.5-year-old phone. The Pixel's display is looking pretty damn good in 2020 as well. Funnily enough, this display is far superior to the POLED panels that would come in slightly later devices. The 5-inch 1080p AMOLED panel is sharp, colourful, bright. It ticks a lot of boxes. And you get the added benefit of not having any black bars with traditional 16:9 content. In 2020, the screen definitely holds up, but just be careful when buying used, because OLED burn-in does start to be a problem at this sort of smartphone age. Moving on to the more aged and obviously outdated design is going to continue to be Marmite for most, either a love or hate thing. The beauty of this design is really in its clever use of subtlety. In the car world, this thing would be described as like a sleeper because all of the important parts are below the body panels of an otherwise very pedestrian looking machine. This is particularly evident in its plain flat thick bezels and its completely flush camera bump. Ironic when you consider that that was and still is the Google Pixel line's biggest feature. Haptics are pretty fuzzy and not the tight, crisp ones that we're used to expecting in like the Pixel 4 has some of the best haptics in the world, but at least we get the headphone port, and that's something that a lot of used phone buyers are looking for in smartphones. Also, the non-XL version is really nice and compact. It's something that we don't see a lot in smartphones today, but it is something that the Google Pixel continues to do, create a compact smartphone flagship smartphone. Comparing it to the sort of smartphones we have in 2020, of course it's going to stand out, and you knew that going into this. But unlike its aged aesthetic, its build materials aren't all that uncommon today. It's glass and aluminium, and it feels pretty fresh. I get that the glass backs of today sport wireless charging, and that's cool and all, but similarly, every phone looks and feels very similar these days, and that's something that I want. It's different, and I'm all for it. Mentioning wireless charging there, or lack thereof, the battery section of this review might not be what you want to hear. The 2770 mAh battery is tiny in comparison with what we expect from a phone in 2020. And with that comes battery life that will leave you wanting, or sometimes needing, more. A full day's use with the non-XL version is pretty ambitious if you're using the original battery. If you change out the battery, that's going to change. But more importantly, if you go for the XL version, you're going to get a much better battery experience. I got a full day of use, but I sit at a desk all day, and I don't commute, so I'm quite a casual phone user versus someone who's commuting all the time. For those who are out commuting to work and using Bluetooth and cellular connections often, this thing will not cut it. In a similar vein, the once groundbreaking 18-watt quick charging is not particularly impressive in 2020, and it will take a couple of hours to fully charge the device. I don't want to put a downer on this whole review, but the battery life is the worst part of the Google Pixel in 2020. Transitioning over to the strongest point of the Pixel, what about the camera? The 12 megapixel and 8 megapixel cameras honestly seem so cute and unmotivating on paper, but in reality, the Pixel turns the industry on its head back in 2016. These days, sure, its lack of ultra-wide or telephoto lenses might be enough to turn someone completely off the phone, but if you look at things from a raw quality standpoint, instead of a raw versatility standpoint, the Pixel is still a great camera phone. It will dominate most used smartphones in the camera department, and that's all thanks to Google's massive focus on computational photography. These images are still great. There's enough dynamic range to keep it looking fresh and new, with enough contrast and colour pop to make for some interesting looking images. These are all photos that I've taken with the Pixel on the latest software update. The selfie camera is still pretty good, the portrait mode is a tad hit or miss, but I don't use that all so much personally. The rear camera is the more impressive one though, and I'm still surprised by the Pixel's image quality to this day. Moving over, check out this backlog of older snaps that I took way back in 2016 when I had the device for the first time. I'm gobsmacked at just how good these photos still look almost 4 years down the line. For those looking for a great used camera phone, this is the one to buy. Even the Ultra HD 30fps video looks decent, though that area has been quite drastically improved on in recent years. With that all said and done, is the Google Pixel still worth buying in 2020? Yes, but here's some food for thought. I recommend going with the XL version because you're going to get much better battery life, and it might cost you a little bit more, but I think it actually makes the world of difference to the user experience. Also, if you want a Quad HD display or even just a larger display, the XL is the obvious choice to make. Otherwise, the standard Pixel is still a very good phone to use in 2020 for those who are on a budget. And that just about concludes my review of the Google Pixel in 2020. I know this one was very comprehensive, and it's something that I plan on doing for the other devices that Noah sourced for me, because I want to go into more detail like a proper review just a few years down the line. It's something I always used to do, and I kind of moved away from that with more recent devices, so I want to go back to my roots. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I want to give a massive shout out to Noah for sourcing this device for me. I know I've mentioned him a couple of times in this video, but he was able to make this video happen, so I have no reason to not include him in the video. Please do like, dislike, comment and subscribe to never miss a video like this one. Also check out the links in the video description to all my social media and to my Patreon page. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons, so thank you so much for continually supporting me. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll see you later. Peace.